Your destiny depends directly on who you let into your environment. The ancient Stoics understood well the power of friendship and warned against people who might pull us down. Our environment is essentially an extension of our own self, and it can influence us far more than it seems. The great philosopher Epictetus once said, "Socialize with those who elevate you, whose presence brings out your best qualities." You may be familiar with the idea that we are the average of the 5 people we spend the most time with. Today we're going to look at this idea from a Stoicism perspective and discuss 7 types of people who may be hindering your progress. It's as important to review your relationship with these people. Before we get started, a little tip: if you subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications, it will help us share valuable content with even more people. The first type of people to avoid are the complainers. We all have that friend, co-worker, or relative who is constantly unhappy about something. Nothing is ever good enough for them. Not the weather, not their job, not even their favorite coffee shop. They will always find something to complain about. Stoics believe that communication with such a person can be compared to a slowly dripping faucet. It gradually drains you, draining his negative energy. Frequent communication with people prone to complaining undermines our state of mind. Think, for example, about working together on a project with such a person. Every discussion turns into a real torture, and your enthusiasm drops when all your attention shifts to his complaints instead of looking for solutions. Eventually, the work begins to make you frustrated and tired. Stoicism offers several ways to deal with complainers. The first option is to reduce communication with that person. However, if this is not possible, for example, if it is your close relative or colleague, it is worth learning to mentally detach. Imagine complaints as a passing storm. It is noisy and unpleasant, but it is not eternal, and its power is powerless against your calm and even inner state. You can also try to steer the conversation in a more constructive direction by offering your practical point of view. Remember that, as the Stoics said, you are only in control of your mind, not external circumstances. This understanding will allow you to maintain inner peace and not let constant complaining disrupt your stability. The second type of people are drama magnets. These people are constantly in the center of conflicts, disagreements, or some kind of crisis situation. Like a whirlpool, they seem to draw those around them into their drama, absorbing its energy. Often, we mistake this drama for passion or liveliness, but it is actually a grueling experience that drains energy and time. Over time, however, you will realize that dealing with a drama magnet is like trying to steer a ship in a storm. It is exhausting and can even be dangerous. Their constant crises begin to seem like your own. Their chaos is contagious, and you may find yourself drawn into a conflict you had nothing to do with in the first place. Consider a practical example. You have a friend who is constantly fighting with her environment. Today she does not talk to one friend, tomorrow already with another. She comes to you for advice, but you notice that this cycle never ends. And eventually you find yourself involved in her feud. To deal with this, You can use the technique of reflective listening. Instead of giving advice or taking sides, simply restate her words without adding anything from yourself. For example, if she says, "I can't believe she said that about me," you might respond, "So you feel betrayed by her words." This approach allows you to provide emotional support but not get drawn into her conflict. Another useful technique is to create personal islands of contemporary zones where you are inaccessible to other people as crises. Set boundaries, such as turning off your phone at certain hours or setting aside time for personal development. This will send the message that you are not to be disturbed during these times. As Seneca said, true happiness is the ability to enjoy the present without depending on worries about the future. This is especially useful when you are dealing with drama magnets. Instead of worrying about what crisis they will bring tomorrow, focus on your present, on what is under your control. Steer your ship by avoiding whirlpools that can take you away from the path to personal growth and peace of mind. The third type of person with whom it is important to be careful is the skeptics. Imagine you are an artist working on a canvas, and with each stroke your painting becomes brighter, gains depth and life. Then a skeptic appears. He walks into your studio, takes a quick glance and immediately begins to question, "Are you sure about this color? It doesn't look realistic." You know that most artists don't succeed. Such comments are like gray strokes on a bright canvas. They obscure your work. It is not constructive criticism, just a constant backdrop of doubt and negativity. Let us say you decide to change your profession. You prepare thoroughly, do your research, talk to people in the new field, and even take preparatory courses. But when you share this with a skeptic, he immediately expresses his doubts. You don't have the right skills. What if you fail? Over time, their doubts begin to echo your own, and confidence begins to waver, especially if the skeptic is someone close to you. It is helpful to try an unconventional approach. Don't just talk about your aspirations, but ask them for advice. In this case, they are less likely to criticize your ideas and may even give you constructive feedback. Another trick is to change the flow of the conversation with a technique called positive confrontation. Instead of letting them inject negativity, invite them to focus on solutions. For example, if they say, "It is not realistic to change careers at this point," respond with, "How do people who successfully change careers do it?" Not only will this distract them from the negativity, but it will create a more productive and helpful conversation. Remember the words of the Stoics: "We have 2 ears and 1 mouth so that we can listen twice as much as we speak." Listening doesn't mean absorbing all the negativity around you. It means distinguishing between useful ideas and just noise. If detractors are trying to darken your life canvas, take a step back. The fourth type of person to avoid is the perpetual victim. Think of life as a game of chess, where each player has the same pieces and one goal: to checkmate the opponent as king. You think strategically about your moves, take risks, and sometimes make sacrifices to win. But the eternal victim blames the chessboard, the pieces, or even the opponent for every failure. For them, every loss is not a consequence of their choices, but the result of external forces arrayed against them. Their life story is an endless tale of suffering where they play the role of a helpless victim. Yes, of course, there are people who go through real hardships and face serious problems. But those who constantly make excuses for their adversity refuse to take responsibility for their actions or lack thereof. Listen to them, but avoid becoming their constant savior and getting involved in their drama. Keep your role as a chess player. Move toward your goal. Make conscious moves, and don't allow yourself to be sucked into a passive role. In the chess of life, eternal checkmate is a choice, not fate. Play for wisdom and growth, not for pity or self-justification. The fifth type is the toxic optimists. You know the kind of people, the ones who are always spreading endless happiness and smiling emoji. When you share your difficulties, they simply advise you to be happy and only see the positive. Imagine your life is a garden with both flowers and weeds. Toxic positivist ignores the weeds. They insist on noticing only the flowers and turning a blind eye to everything else. If there are pests in your garden and you have difficulties piling up, he'll say, focus on the good. Don't let the negative in. This blind optimism can leave you without the support you need, causing you to suppress important emotions. For example, if you are going through a painful breakup, feeling confused and seeking inner balance, toxic positivists will simply say, forget it, because there are still so many other people out there. Or just smile. This approach ignores the complexity of the feelings you are experiencing and leaves you alone with the real issues at hand. Instead, try to steer the conversation in a direction that considers both the bright and dark sides of life. If they say, look, at least you have your health, you can respond, yes, I am grateful for my health, but I have other feelings that are important too. Nevertheless, it is normal to feel sad or upset. This is a quality that psychologists call emotional granularity, the ability to recognize and feel a wide range of emotions, both positive and negative. When a toxic positivist urges you to just be happy, pause and acknowledge your feelings by identifying all their nuances. Seneca noted the importance of enjoying the present without obsessively depending on the future. This involves balancing an awareness of our responsibilities, not always easy, with the ability to find joy in the present moment. Stoicism does not advocate focusing only on the good or the bad. It teaches us to accept the complexities of life calmly and with dignity. The next time a toxic optimist tries to interfere with your garden, step back and remember that both sunlight and rain are necessary for growth. Care for your garden with respect for all its elements, rich and complex, just like your emotions. The sixth type of people to be careful of are manipulators. Think of your life as a movie where you are the main character and you create your own story. You choose the plot twists, allies, and the ending. A manipulator, on the other hand, is like a shadowy producer who discreetly interferes in the script until one day you discover that your life is going the wrong way. Manipulators are masters of emotional and psychological influence. They may use flattery, guilt, or deception to sway you in their direction. Perhaps you have an acquaintance who constantly talks you into paying for dinner, saying something like, "You race so successful, and I've had a rough month. This will really help me out." At first you may think it as a small thing, but over time you realize that your generosity has been taken advantage of. Nevertheless, it is uncomfortable to talk about it, because the manipulator always treats the situation as if it were just a little help for a friend in need. Confronting a manipulator can be difficult, but there are strategies. One way is the framing method, which is to agree with the truthful part of the statement but avoid the emotional pressure. For example, if someone tells you that since you raise successful, you might as well pay for dinner, respond, "You right, I am doing pretty well, but let us split the bill like we usually do." Another technique is to set clear boundaries. If a manipulator asks you for money or tries to induce you to do something you don't like, learn to say no calmly but firmly. Maintain a confident tone and clear words. "I can't lend you money right now." However, even in trying to help others, it is important to remember your boundaries. It is often advantageous to the manipulator to have you react in a predictable way, so they can manipulate your kindness, guilt, or eagerness to please. But if you change how you react, you will regain control of your own script. If a manipulative person appears in your life, remember that the pen is in your hands. Let those around you remain characters in your journey, but let your values and decisions determine its plot. Take your script into your own hands and don't let anyone else control your story. The seventh type of person it is best to stay away from are time vampires. Think of your day as a symphony. Each task is an instrument contributing to the harmonious sound. But here comes a time vampire who disrupts the rhythm, disrupting the structure of your schedule. Time vampires are those who constantly demand your attention and time without offering anything in return. Perhaps you have an acquaintance who calls just to chat, distracting you from your business, or a coworker who keeps you focused with their questions, forcing you to break deadlines. They take away not only your time, but also your concentration, productivity, and sanity. To deal with time vampires, you need to set clear and healthy boundaries. Politely but firmly state when you can socialize and when you need to focus on your business. Let your friends and co-workers understand the importance of your schedule just as you respect their time. Try to redirect them to more efficient ways of communicating. For example, suggest that a friend who tends to have long conversations use text messaging for short questions and news. That way you can regain control of your time without letting it be wasted on trivia. Stoic philosophy emphasizes the difference between what is within our power and what is not. Time vampires try to take over your schedule, but with clear boundaries you can maintain control. Remember the words of the Stoics, "It is not that we don't have enough time, it is how we use it." Connecting with people who inspire you and support your values is the foundation of your Stoic journey. By recognizing and avoiding complainers, trouble magnets, skeptics, victims, toxic positivists, manipulators, and time vampires, you can protect your peace of mind and focus on what is really important. Walk your path with resilience and inner freedom. Write in the comments which of these 7 types you've encountered in your life and how you dealt with it. Every experience you have is a contribution to our community. Thanks for watching. If the video was helpful, please like and subscribe to support the further development of the channel about Stoic philosophy. Your participation helps shape a community dedicated to wisdom, courage, and living well.